Welcome to Application Security MythBusters, your podcast series for understanding the importance of clean code in a primarily digital economy. Our promise is to bring you some of the finest minds in the industry to help you and those you work with understand and learn how to mitigate against the risk inherent in application development. This information is brought to you by Cenzic, the innovative leader in application security risk management, vulnerability assessment, and compliance solutions. And here is our show host, Mandeep Kara, Chief Marketing Officer of Cenzic.
Hi, this is Mandeep Kara. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Cenzic with another episode of Application Security MythBusters. We're live at RSA, and we have a special guest, Chris Peterson, who's Senior Director of Application Security at Zynga. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to get this opportunity.
So we'll be talking about some of the myths around application security and why people are not doing enough and what are some of the issues around that. But before we dive into some of the questions, I would love to get your thoughts on the general state of the union of application security, if you will.
Well, I think that it's something that's been going on for quite a few years. And companies are trying to do the right thing, but I think that still ultimately gets down to the competition between time to market and the features that they need. Those pressures never go away. Most development organizations that I've encountered don't reward their developers, don't measure their developers based on security. They tend to measure them on speed and the feature set that they deliver. And so as a result, even today, security continues to be an area of concern. I think on top of that, I think a lot of our our application developers are not receiving a lot of the training necessary to be able to understand the true threat environment. They don't understand how big the risk really is. They don't understand how widespread it is. And so as a result, they just don't consider that as part of the design goals when they're developing new applications. So, it continues to be an ongoing threat.
Yeah, I mean, certainly resources is a big issue, and especially, I mean, it's very well said that developers really don't have the time barely to do performance and functional stuff, right? So another reason that we always hear is from companies when I ask them, well, why aren't you doing enough about application security? And they say, well, I've never been hacked. So what would you say to those people?
Well, I mean, before I was at Zynga, I worked at Microsoft, and we obviously do a lot of research into what's really going on out there. And what we found is that especially in web applications, but in all applications, hacking is a money-making venture. The things that the hacking community is doing is really about different techniques for them to raise money, and they don't want to get caught. And they work very hard not to be caught. And so it's a very, in most cases, a very silent background thing that's going on. They infiltrate your system quietly. They exfiltrate data quietly. They're trying to make money off of this operation. And as soon as you find out that they're doing it and put a stop to it, that stops their revenue stream. So I would say that attacks are widespread from what we've seen, the evidence that we've seen. The majority of systems that are on the internet are being attacked. Whether or not they get penetrated is often just a matter of what kind of application security they've done. But it's also platform security and things of that nature as well. But most systems are under attack on a constant basis, and a lot of systems have been penetrated, and the people that own them have no idea that it's even happening.
And also, I think companies who have started doing something about application security is because of regulations. And one regulation or standard that comes to mind is PCI, or payment card industry. But unfortunately, even though it's a really good step forward, a lot of companies are using PCI as a checkbox, and so they say, if I get PCI compliant, I'm secure. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that what you see is when it's a regulatory requirement, the basic approach by most companies is going to be, what's the minimum I can do to satisfy the requirement? And it's often bringing in an outside organization, a consulting firm or something, to say, just make me compliant. And okay, they wrap the system, they do all the basic minimum things necessary to achieve those check boxes, but they don't actually go in and look at the fundamentals of their applications and understand their threat model at a deeper level. And again, PCI is only protecting part of their system. That's really only has to do with the payment processing portion, the financial aspects that they have going on. There's much larger surface areas in most applications that are also being attacked, also being exploited, and these, they're losing far more than just financial information. They're losing fundamental data about their customers, about their businesses, and that's an area that PCI doesn't cover.
And I always tell customers is focus on getting applications secured first. You'll get compliant automatically after that.
That's a great approach.
Another thing that always comes up is, and I don't know if it's a perception or maybe in some cases it might be a reality, but companies don't focus on app security because they think that app security is hard to implement or too expensive, and they don't know how to justify ROI for that. What would be your advice to those people?
Well, as I said earlier, I think that the development community is not incented to write secure code. They're incented to write code faster with more features. And what I've discovered in a number of places that I've had to do this is that once you can educate the developers on the threat environment and you show them that there's actually a very difficult engineering problem to solve here, this is what they like to do. They like to solve difficult engineering problems. And so once you put it into that framework and you define it that way, then it gets integrated at a root level into the code, and it's not something you have to bolt on later. It's not something you have to pay millions of dollars to bring in consultants. The key is use the resources you have, teach the developers what they need to know, get them educated about the threats, and get them to understand that there is a clear engineering problem. I'm also a big fan of automation. I think that a lot of the flaws, a lot of the mistakes that are made can easily be mitigated if the right automation is in place to help the developers identify these issues before the code ever gets deployed. And so a reasonable investment in the right automation sitting right there on the developers' desktops combined with good education, and I think it's a very cost-effective way to improve the quality of the code.
That's an excellent point. Chris, thank you very much for your time and sharing your insights. You've been very, very insightful. Thank you. Again, this is Mandeep Kira signing off from RSA. Until the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Application Security MythBusters. The practices and approaches discussed in all of our episodes are based on both the vast knowledge of our guests as well as the thought leadership and industry expertise of those from the show's sponsor, Cenzic. We value your input, so please feel free to email us at mythbusters@cenzic.com. That's mythbusters@cenzic.com with any comments, questions, or topic suggestions for future shows. Additional topics in this series, related white papers, and more information are available on the web at www.cenzic.com.